Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, alongside a dear, dear friend, Tammy Thompson, and we are so excited to bring this podcast to you. Show Me the Way podcast is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. In this episode, I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing my college friend and sorority sister, Jessica Pulis. Jessica is such a bright light, and our conversation was filled with laughter, memories, and insights. It's been incredible to watch her journey from our college days to her experiences in marriage, motherhood, and moving both overseas and across the country. Jessica shares her wisdom on embracing faith over fear, stepping outside of our comfort zones, and recognizing the importance of the appointments set for us. Her family's journey has been filled with challenges and growth, strengthening their bond and showing them just how capable they are. Her perspective is one we can all learn from, and I can't wait for you to hear her inspiring words. Tune in for an episode filled with heart, wisdom, and encouragement to try new things and trust the path ahead. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast, the platform where people can share stories about times that they've thought they were on one path, but for some reason they had to pivot, and the perspective that they've learned from it. We've had such amazing guests, and we've heard so many inspirational and emotional stories. And today's guest, Jessica Please, is one of my sorority sisters and someone who was a big part of my early 20s. She's so smart, kind, fun, and has had so many experiences, including living overseas and moving for work, raising 3 kids, having different jobs, entrepreneurship, and so many other things that I'm sure I don't even know that much about. She currently has been sharing education and knowledge around podcasting, so I know that she'll have some great nuggets for us. And I'm really honored to welcome Jessica, or as we were saying before this started, JC, because her maiden name is Cox, so I used to call her JC. That's how she introduced herself to us, but we're going to stick to Jessica now because it's been many years.
Many years.
Many years. But Jessica's been following what I've been doing, and we've been chatting, and I'm really excited to have her here. So welcome, Jessica.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. This is when you said like in my 20s, I'm like, wow, that was a really long time ago.
Really
But
long time ago.
and
Yeah.
then that it's we did that 3-day walk together. That was a
Yes.
pivotal point. That was after college. That was when we were both had become moms, and yeah, we've
Yes.
we've got a little bit of a history.
We definitely do, but I'm so glad we kind of reconnected recently and that
Yeah.
you're here. So
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So before we jump in, I thought, I mean, I've already said some things about you, but would love to hear from
Yeah.
you a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Jessica. I am a wife to Dominic. We've been together 25 years, which that's also crazy. And I have 3 children, about to be 16, 14, and 12. That's crazy because as you know, it's a completely different chapter of parenting, which it's
Mm-hmm.
not for the faint of heart, especially when you have 2 teenage daughters, but we're getting through it. Born and raised in the Michigan area where we obviously met. We had a journey in in the 2010s. We were living in Italy for my husband's work for a few years. And then a couple years ago, we took another leap of faith and jumped over. We're now living in Scottsdale, Arizona for in kind of another new chapter in our lives. I work with, I've been in the advertising world my whole career. And most recently, I've started working with a podcast company where I'm selling advertising for podcasts, but it is, it's a different animal of how people are consuming their content and things in the world. So that's kind of how we got talking on this, and how one of the reasons why I came on your show today.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I was following you on LinkedIn and I saw some articles that you posted. And as many of our listeners know, I kind of just started this and I do a lot of things by the seat of my pants. And I thought, let's just get a microphone and get some people on and share stories.
Yeah.
But I love how you're helping me learn a little more because now that I've been doing this,
Mm,
yeah, I'm like, keep going, keep recording. But
yes.
now that that's happening, I'm like, what's next? Because it's really been fun. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I started in local radio, and I remember the day that one of our program directors was like, people are going to start consuming their content in a different way, and radio is just going to be an add-on. And now I'm living it and seeing it, and it's one of those things where there's so much information out there. People are engaging with the things that they want to versus the things that are just told that they have to watch, so it's
Yeah.
podcasting definitely gives users a way to find the content that they want and learn from there and grow from there. I mean, I just posted something the other day. People listen to like 8 different shows a week on average, which is it's crazy. So people aren't even listening to traditional stuff. They're going into content. I mean, some people don't even watch television. They go to podcasts to listen to podcasts. And, with having some that are also not only audio but video, it's just like watching TV, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and even the radio, now that you're mentioning that, the radio show I listen to every morning, they're like, "Also, go to our podcast."
Yeah.
So even radio shows are also doing a podcast.
Absolutely. Video
So
is becoming something that people want to see. Remember when there was a back in the day, you used to say, oh, they have a face for radio. Well, no, you can't have a
not
face for radio now because you're so out there, because people want to be connected with the people that they're listening to, right? Whether that's something for entertainment, something for news, something for education. So all of these podcasts, that especially the ones that I work with, they're, not only are they doing their show, but they're doing all of their social. They're out in the public. It's more than just putting your content out there. People want to interact with you.
Right, yeah, and I'm gonna keep learning I'm gonna keep following you and learning because, as you know, this is currently just audio, but it needs to also be videos. My guest the other day was my niece, and she's 25, which is
Yeah.
crazy that
Oh
she's
my word.
25.
I remember her.
Yeah, and she just gave me such a good perspective from that generation. I was taking notes just listening to her talk, and I don't even think she meant to, like, teach me anything, but
Right.
just by listening to her talk, I was like, "I need to do that, and I need to do that." So, we'll just keep learning
Right.
and growing for sure.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, right? You just keep trying, keep doing,
Yes,
do it scared, do it hard, do it you don't know what you're doing until you just get out there and do it. You don't have to know everything when you get started, right? So
exactly.
as things evolve, and it's comical to look back at some of the, like, entrepreneurs that are famous now, and you look back to like what their past was. Like, they just went out there and did it. They didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
So you just got to get out there and do it. So I'm so proud that you're just getting out there and doing it.
Thank you, and I always like to point out so Jessica also knows Tammy, who was doing this show with me. And I always tell everybody that she was like, "Okay, go ahead and do it scared, but let's plan, let's organize." So she did help me with that at the beginning, but she's pivoting. I keep bringing up this disclaimer because she's not currently here with us for the interview. She's pivoting because she retired from her job, and so she's trying some new things. So she hasn't been
Yeah.
on the interviews, but she's still here in spirit. So yeah, I have to go back and be like, "You have to listen to all of these so you can give me some
Right.
feedback." But anyway, so I like
Love
to
it.
point that out. And before we started, I was telling Jessica that we do give some examples of questions, and we say that this podcast is about expressing a time that you thought you were on one path and you needed to pivot. All of that stems from a huge pivot in my life. The reason I started this podcast, my son having muscular dystrophy, and how everything I thought was going to happen completely changed.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to start this, but we don't put a script together. We don't say, here's
Yeah.
what you have to talk about. I know there's a lot of things that Jessica has been through, but I'm going to let her go whichever direction she wants, and we'll take it from there. So without any further ado, if there's something on your heart,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah. So I was kind of looking at that, like, what was that one thing that changed your life? And I was laughing. I was like, well, it goes all the way back to when I decided to go to college. My parents wanted to help me financially to support my college education, but they didn't plan because, back then nobody really planned you didn't know what it looked like. So they bribed me. I was going to Western Michigan and had my roommates picked out. I knew I was going to go into business. I don't really know what I was doing, but then they bribed me to stay home, go to U of M Dearborn, and they bought me a Mustang convertible.
It's
You
coming
remember
back
that?
to me now.
You remember that?
Yes, I do.
So, like, and my dad still laughs because I was 18, Mustang convertible. Heck yeah, why not? I didn't really
You had
want
the
it.
best car out of all of us,
It
that's for
I
sure.
mean, I was styling, but so yeah, my dad jokes. He goes, "Yeah, if I didn't offer you that, you wouldn't have met Dominic." And
That's
I'm like,
true.
that's so true. So everything like it's kind of weird and that it goes back that far, but like I met Dominic shortly after starting college, and obviously we've been together since, and we've had all these journeys together. So that kind of sparked a little bit of nostalgia and whatnot. And I share this with my kids too because it goes back to how one decision can completely change the trajectory of your life. Who knows what would have happened if I went to Western, if I would have finished at Western, or if I would have met somebody else and what my life would look like now. But that, and I think, all of our appointments are set, and I'm a very faithful person. So all of our appointments are set and laid before us. So it's just us needing to make that decision to follow those appointments and how meet those appointments that are already designed for us. So I yeah, that one choice of getting a car versus
Yes.
going away. Now I do feel like I kind of missed out on the, whole college campus experience, but that's what we had our sorority for, and that gave us that experience. But then as we progress through life, like Dominic and I, like there's a lot of decisions also that we've made together that have also changed different things in our lives. Like you said, we lived in Italy for 3 years. No one in there, like I would have never ever thought that I could have lived in Italy with three. I mean, my kids were 5, 3, and 15 months old when we moved there. We didn't know what we didn't know at that time, right? But we look back when we've been back in the States now, gosh, we moved back in 2017. There's not a week that goes by that we don't reference something about Italy, even my kids. So that was just another pivotal point in our lives that just kind of shaped us and molded us. And if Italy didn't happen, we would have never taken the jump to move to Arizona because we would have been too afraid.
Mhm.
Nobody really moves away anymore, right? Like my mom's entire family, it was kind of a joke. She's the baby of 10. None of them lived out of state ever, unless you were in the military, but nobody really moved out of state. So we would never have been able to move to Arizona if we didn't do the Italy experience.
And what it taught your kids too, like, try
Oh
new
my
things, experience
goodness.
new things. I mean, an entirely new culture.
Yeah, yeah. That we joked because we took advantage of being there. We knew it was a short time, so we took advantage of all the travel. And when Samuel, when we moved back to the States, he was 4 years old. That kid was on 4 continents by the time he was 4 years old. Continents,
Wow.
like some people, like the trainer at the gym I go to, she's like, I've never been out of the country. I'm like, wow, my son was on 4 different continents by the time he was 4. It's just such a blessing that we had that experience to be able to share with our kids. And also it was a gift to our friends and family that were able to come visit us because so many of we had visitors all the time. Thankfully we had space that they just came and stayed with us. But so many people, like my parents would have never gone to Italy, but they came to Italy, and then we went to Rome and we saw the Pope speak. My parents still talk about that being such a highlight of their lives. So we were able to give a gift to all of our friends and family for being there because it gave them a reason to, get out of their comfort zone, right?
For sure. And I think we've talked about this a couple of times on my podcast. And then I was a guest on a couple of other podcasts where I've talked about it. But I've got this little tattoo on my wrist. It's just TNT. And it stands for today, not tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sometimes I mess with it. I'm like, oh, it's dynamite or whatever. But it really does stand for
I'm
today,
about
not
to
tomorrow.
blow it up.
Yeah. And I really do think that, yes, Nathan's diagnosis was, of course, so difficult, but it also taught us so much about perspective and taking advantage of things. And I just listening to you talk, really good friends of ours, we were actually together when they met. The wife is Scottish and they got married in Scotland and they
Oh,
invited
fun.
us and we didn't go. Like
Oh,
looking back, it's like,
yeah.
why didn't we go? We're like, oh, we can't go to Scotland, but we should have taken advantage of that because that
Yeah.
opportunity is now past.
But it's hard, right? Like finances come into play, timing comes into play, logistics come into play. So, it is in that moment a difficult decision to make. And that's one of the things I kind of wrote about. When people are given an opportunity, do it.
Mhm.
Challenge yourself, pray about it. Is this something that we're supposed to do? You'll get the answers. But so many times we just are scared to do something. I was terrified to go to Italy, terrified. And Dominic always had this itch, right? So he worked in the automotive industry and had a lot of opportunities to be an expat in multiple countries based on who was owning the company at the time. And he would say, "Oh, there's an opportunity to go to China. There's an opportunity to go to Germany. There's an opportunity to go," I forget where the other one was. And then he came to me with an opportunity to go to Italy. And I was like, "Italy? Sure. Why not?" But I didn't really think it would happen. But then when we were going through the process, we were scared and uncomfortable. And one of the things that I learned early in my radio career from one of my mentors, and I use it all the time, is there's no growth in the comfort zone and there's no comfort in the growth zone. You can be comfortable, right? And a lot of this, it's funny because I'm hearing a lot of these phrases with all of the health initiatives that I follow. Like, yeah, you can be comfortable. You can sit on your butt and eat bonbons all day, or you can be uncomfortable and be healthier by working out and not eating the junk and making your own, all of that stuff. But when we went there, we were uncomfortable in every aspect, in everything we did. Making a reservation for dinner, dinner over there was, you didn't have dinner until
Till
8:30 at
9,
night.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I've got these young kids that are normally in bed by 7:30. Like, what the heck? Poor Samuel. That kid ate so many late dinners that we hardly ever brushed his teeth. By the time we got him to a dentist, he had like 6 cavities because he would just, fall asleep on the way home from dinner. Everything was so uncomfortable, but it was such a growing experience. So if anybody's like, challenge yourself. If you're faced with something that is odd or weird or something you don't normally do, take a step back and realize that at the end of the day, it's going to be okay. It might be hard, it might be difficult, but when you come out of that, you will be different. And that is like, I talk about it a lot, that, when we came back and moved back to the States from Italy, everybody's like, "Aren't you so glad to be home?" And yes, we were, but at the same time, we just closed a book. It seemed like it was a chapter, but it was a bigger book. It was a big chapter, right? We closed it and we learned and grew so much through that challenge and that uncomfortableness. Like, now we're coming back to the States where you can go to the grocery store anytime you want.
Mhm.
You can order something and have it delivered to your door anytime you want. Where you couldn't get that, that was a luxury in Italy. But we settled in really quickly to being
Mhm.
comfortable again. But we were different when we came back, and everybody had this like perspective of, yeah, you're happy to be home, right? Yeah, we are happy to be home, but we miss that part of life too. We're even talking about maybe doing we haven't been back,
Mhm.
and we're talking about going back. I got teary eyed talking about it because it was such a defining moment in our lives, and I'm like, oh, if I go back, what's it going to be like?
Yeah, it won't be the same, it'll be
It won't be the
different.
same. It'll be vacation, but still.
I've been to Italy one time, and everyone's like, "Where did you go?" I'm like, "Well, we flew into Rome." But outside of that, I don't really know where we were. Somebody
Yeah.
drove us to this village, but I saw this teeny tiny
Yeah.
amount of
Yeah.
Italy. And my sister's been a couple times, so she's experienced a lot more. I definitely wanna go back, but, like, where I mean, I guess you don't have to say the town, that probably won't mean much to us, but,
Yeah.
northern, southern, where were you in
Yeah,
Italy?
we lived in Torino, so it's
Oh,
where
okay.
the
So I know that name.
2006 Olympics were.
Olympics, right.
Yeah, so it was not touristy at all. For Michigan people, it's kind of like a Chicago, but the size of Grand Rapids.
Okay, okay, that's good
So
perspective
a
for
little bit
me.
metropolitan, lots of museums, lots of history. It was actually the first capital before it was moved to Rome and relocated. I think, if I remember correctly, I did so many walking tours. I was kind of trying
I'm
always to
sure, yeah.
memorize it. But yeah, so we lived there, but we were able to, like I said, we did a lot of different cities and stuff, but yeah, everybody goes and hits the main points,
Mhm.
right? Rome, Tuscany, Florence, Venice,
Right.
all
We
of
I
that.
was with my dad,
Mm,
geez, that was when Nathan was 4, so that was, like,
okay.
11 years
I
ago.
vaguely remember this.
Yes, and we went just him and I, and actually,
Mhm.
I didn't see anything in Rome outside of the airport, so
Oh,
I need to go back. But
yeah.
here was my other question, what about the language situation? Did you speak any of it, or did you
Oh,
learn,
I knew
or
enough to be dangerous. So it's funny that you say that. So in Italy, in especially not being a touristy location, they want you to try, right? They want
Right.
you to give it, but they also really want to learn English because English is so universal. So I would always introduce myself. I'm sorry, I don't speak very good Italian. We lived in an expat community, so there was a lot of English speaking around us. But my biggest thing was I had to make appointments and I had to make dinner reservations. So I got kind of good with that. The biggest challenge was what we had our dogs with us at the time, and we were traveling to, I think it was, we were going to Austria. So I needed the dog passport. The dogs needed a passport so they didn't
Wow.
have to be quarantined. So, I had to call because the inefficiencies in the government and the processes there is baffling. If you thought the states were crazy, baffling over there. So this one office, 2 hours, 3 times a week, you could go and get the appointment and have the appointment. But there were 2 days that they accepted phone calls that were different. We had a cleaning lady that would come every once in a while, and she called for me. I had a babysitter that would help me, and she would call for me. And it took us like 6 weeks to get this appointment. So I go, and it wasn't even the appointment that was bad. Once we got the appointment, it was fine. But to get the appointment, I was trying to say that to them that we're going on vacation. And because I was saying it, I said passport instead of passaporto, and they didn't understand. So that was a huge language barrier. And then there was this one time that I had Dominic's aunt and uncle with us, and we were on a tour of the Shroud of Turin. We got to see that, and it was
Wow.
opened.
That's
Oh
amazing.
gosh, it was breathtaking. But this guy was there, and he was talking to us, and he was saying something about Nazo. Long story short, it ended up being NASA. He had to say, Buzz. And I was like, oh, NASA. So it's kind of funny, like that happened to me and I did it to somebody else. But yeah, the language wasn't bad. As time got on, I felt more people spoke English, but it probably is because my Italian probably got better. Yeah, I couldn't talk now at all. The other thing is with the kids, so the girls obviously they got exposed to it, but Samuel, I put him in an all Italian speaking daycare
Wow.
because he needed interaction. He only had so much time being cool with mom. So he went to an all Italian. He was the only American, the only English speaker. I literally dropped him off. And this is another thing about being uncomfortable, right? I dropped him off to this place. So I couldn't even communicate to them. I'd be like, tutto bene? All good? Yep. Here you go. Here's my son. And they would tell me he does really well on the playground with the kids. He understands everything we say. Well, the last vacation we took, we were in a pool at a hotel, and Samuel starts talking in Italian to this little boy. I was like, "Oh, I wish I had this on video." It was the coolest thing. But
Yeah.
obviously he doesn't speak that now, but hopefully those, connections are somewhere in the brain.
Kids are just so resilient, and
Mhm.
they learn, and they're sponges, and
Yeah.
it's interesting that they wanna learn the English language. It is so hard. There's so many weird situations. It's nowhere near as fluent. It doesn't make as much sense as, like,
Right,
those
when you're
European
learning,
languages
yeah.
do. Yeah,
But if you
so
think about it, in Europe, I had one of the dads I met there explained it. He's like, "Yeah, English, you can go everywhere, right?
everywhere. Right.
Everywhere.
Mhm.
But in Europe, you have to learn, German, you have to learn
Right.
French, you have to learn
Mhm.
Italian, Croatian, whatever. All of the different countries in the US, you can drive for 30 hours. Like for us, it would be 30 hours to drive to Michigan, but in
Right.
Europe, in 2 hours, you can be in the Swiss Alps from
That's a
Italy.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
So,
So, all this different language across
mhm,
all the borders. That's so interesting when you put it in that perspective.
yeah.
But I was thinking, I'm half Italian. My dad
Right?
is 100% and looks like he
Yes.
was on the boat yesterday. when he was in Italy, you just keep reminding me of the really teeny tiny time we were in Italy, but people would come up and just start talking to him because he looked
Mhm.
so Italian, and he would just smile. I'm like, "Dad, you don't know anything they're saying to you right now." And he's like, he would say, "I feel it." I'm like,
No.
"Dad,
Oh, I love it.
you don't
Well
feel it, but whatever. Keep
well, with
smiling."
with our Mediterranean background, people would
Right.
do that to us as well, and
Yes,
I'm like,
for
"I'm
sure.
sorry, I'm American."
Well, and I have a really good friend that was an expat in China, and
Okay.
she's Chinese, but she's
Oh,
lived in America her whole life, so it was the same
yeah.
thing, like, people would just start talking to her, and she's like, "I know nothing."
Yeah.
So, I look it, my
Now
kids look like
that's a
it, but
language that is I can't even imagine beginning to learn.
yeah, me either. Yeah, there's a lot there, but wow, that's so interesting. I could talk to you just about Italy for
I
so
know,
long
I
because
know.
these are things, and I kind of alluded to it when I was speaking about you. These are things that I saw, thank goodness for social media, but
Right.
I haven't really had deep conversations with you in a really
Yeah.
long time. So I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. So I really didn't know all of those details. That was
Yeah.
really cool. And yeah, what a change. And when you come back
Mhm.
and in America, geez, we're so crazy. Everything's fast. And now your kids are probably
Ah,
involved in everything and it's like boom,
everything,
boom,
yeah.
boom. Yeah.
Yeah,
What a
and
change.
we got stuck back into that, like, rigmarole of being overscheduled, and then it was nice when we moved here to Arizona, we kinda had another reset, like, everybody kinda we took a little bit of a break from all of the activities. The girls, they're not as involved in things as they were in Michigan. Samuel's still doing soccer a ton, and that keeps us very busy, but it was kind of nice to have another reset, like, "Hey, life doesn't have to be this crazy scheduled, let's do everything all the time." So we've kind of slowed down, and also here's the other thing that's different. Moving to Italy, we had a built-in community because of the school, right? Because of the kids. Moving to back to Michigan, we had a built-in community because of we knew people, but a lot of those people we didn't hang out with once we moved back, but we started hanging out with the kids' schools. Well, moving to Arizona, when you've got preteens, you don't meet people,
That's
and
true.
it's a different dynamic of, like, Charlie. I had some of Charlie's friends over after a dance in 8th grade. Not a single parent came to my door. They didn't know me from Adam. And I was like, this is so bizarre. Like, and I kind of expected to meet people through them because that's what I did the other two times I moved. And it didn't happen. So I was like, oh, this is going to be different. Another time to challenge myself and grow.
Yeah. So what are you thinking about Arizona now? Do you really like it there? Are you guys finding your way? Do you have groups of friends now?
It's a slow go, still finding our way, but it's coming along. Our last year in Italy is when we really solidified with our friends there. So that was 3 years. So we're coming up into our third year. It'll be 3 years this July for us in Arizona. And we're just starting to solidify those friendships, right? With people that'll be like, hey, you want to come over randomly on a Tuesday for a barbecue or something like that. But it takes time. It really
That's true.
takes time. And you have to say yes to a lot of things because you don't know, are these the people I'm supposed to be with? So, and again, it's that getting uncomfortable, right? Like, what are we doing? That kind of thing. So, but yeah, we're starting to, find our footing, and, moving here, I was working remotely back in Detroit, and then the connections that I had put me in a local spot with the radio here. And then the connections that I had put me in a different spot within a short period of time back into the podcast world. So I'm forever grateful that we moved here because I wouldn't have this role that I'm in now. And it's really been a game changer for our family, which is awesome. It's just kind of, it's again meeting those appointments that are set before us. So,
Right. I wrote that down. All of our appointments are set. I love that so much. When I pray, almost every single day, I always say, am I near my path? Am I where I'm supposed to be?
yeah.
But I really like that our appointments are set. That's going to stick with me. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you make some good points about just people coming into your lives and the connections and just going after it and having faith over fear. I wrote that down too
Hmm.
because it's just kind of where you're going with that. But wow, it's such great perspective. You've had your relationship with your husband for quite some time. Through all of these changes, would you say it has helped grow your relationship? Has it had any impact, or do you guys just have enough in common that no matter what you do, it would have worked?
Oh, moving across the world and across the country puts a lot of stress.
I'm sure.
But you're doing it together
Mhm.
and you face the challenges together and you lean on each other because you two are doing it. There, no one else is doing this with you, right?
True.
And you
Mhm.
have to be together, you have to be the rock for your children. And, you have ups and downs. And even if you're not doing these life changing moves, you have ups and downs in marriage no matter what. And no marriage is perfect, but again, it's one of those things that you figure it out, right? One of my bosses, one of my first radio jobs, she said, you will always love your spouse, but you won't always like them. And when you put stressors like a cross country move or a cross Atlantic move, those stressors come out a lot bigger, right? But as long as you know at the end of the day, you love your spouse and you just don't like them right now, or it's kind of stressful, it, it just becomes the foundation, right? And you get through it, you figure it out, you move on, and you are grateful that that person is there to be there with you through all those challenges and through all those ups and downs. So, we've had our moments, but
Right.
who
No,
doesn't? And I couldn't imagine my life without him, right? Like he's my guy.
Yes, yes,
In
for
fact,
sure.
I
I
even
love
told
that.
this story this morning to my trainer. Asked me about she's doing a dating app. She's like 25. And I was like, oh, I met Dominic 25 years ago. She's like, yeah, that was the year I was born. I'm like, thanks so much. But she asked me, when did you first date Dominic? I go, well, it was quite comical. I was asked by a friend to go to dinner, and I left dinner saying I am supposed to marry that guy. I think it's the appointments you have to meet, right?
Yes,
So,
I love that. Yeah, we had a guest on our show, I don't know how many weeks ago, but she did something similar. She met her husband when she was like 12 or 11,
oh wow,
and she told a friend too, she was like, "I'm gonna marry that guy someday," and they got married, and it's been 30 some years later, so, yeah, I
wow,
do
that's awesome.
I believe in that for sure. So I
Yeah,
think the other thing that I was gonna say was when I was speaking with you're just bringing up a lot of memories and previous episodes. You're making me think about the questions that I've asked some other people.
uh
And
huh,
my niece, again, who's 25, I asked her about the 5-year and 10-year plan because I feel like when I was in college, when I was young, you always heard that. What's your 5-year
yeah,
plan? What's your
yeah.
10-year plan? And I can't think like right now it's my 3-month plan or something like that. So
100%. Well, and like for us, because we moved a couple of times, people are like, "Oh, do you see, finishing, staying in Arizona forever, or do you guys think you'll move again?" I don't know. I didn't know I was going to move to Arizona until 6 months, a year before we were going to move to Arizona. So yeah, I and like I feel so bad for these kids. 'Cause you're experiencing it with yours. Arlie's talking about college and what
mhm.
she wants to do and this and stuff. And I'm like, you're 16. Like, how do you know?
Right, or
you
even, like,
know?
how do you know what you're gonna be? Like, my niece was saying, "If I had to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't have got the same degree," and I said, "But I don't know." I mean, I say she has the same degree that I got, my undergrad communications, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Yes, but it
same.
opens the door, it allows you to do a lot of things."
Mhm.
You never know. You did what you did at the time, and it's opening
Yep.
doors for you today, so
Yeah.
can't
You
really
do the
look
best
back.
with the knowledge you have in the moment in time, right?
Correct, yes. Yes.
But yeah, it's like, I don't know my 5-year plan. Like
Right.
my 10-year plan is I want to be on a beach somewhere indefinitely.
Well, yes, that yeah, you're right. There's big lofty goals that we
Right.
have like that, but it is very difficult for me to think even making vacation plans, nowadays you have to plan
Mhm.
so early
Oh
because you
my
don't
word.
wanna get the worst price and things sell out, but it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing a year from now. How can I
Right.
plan?
There are people that are good like that. Adrian, our friend from college, she's amazing at that. They have their whole year planned out from,
Oh gosh.
a year ahead. But we're trying to figure out our summer plans and we've got all these ideas of what we want to do. But again, it's like, okay, what's the logistics? What's the budget? What's the timing? Like all of this. Like, kids, they have some summer school, some summer camp, some, Charlie works. So she wants to, all this stuff. So it's, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with the what's going on this weekend.
Yes. And I think as I get older, that's becoming easier for me. And then also, Nathan's just changed my whole perspective
Yeah.
because I think I was more like Adrian back in the day. But
Yeah.
now I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell you.
Right.
Your
Right.
life can turn tomorrow. Everything could
Mhm.
change. Dominic,
100%.
your husband could come home and say, hey, I got this new opportunity. We're moving back to Italy. We're moving to another
Right.
country. And you never
Now
know.
if he said that and it was Italy, let's go.
Let's go pack up the kids.
Everywhere else, yeah, I think all 3 kids would be on board with that one.
That's cool. Oh, love it. So
Yeah.
has I know you've always been pretty close to your family.
Yeah.
Have they come out to Arizona? Do you talk to them often? Do you see
Yeah, I
them?
talk to my mom and dad quite a few times a week. We've always been a close family, so we talk a ton, and they've all been out here. My in-laws are snowbirding here now, and they love it. And they have a little condo they're renting, and they text us the other day. They're learning how to play euchre, and
Oh my
they're
gosh.
like, we're going to church at noon, and then we have a wine tasting at 3. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So they're loving it. But yeah, my parents are still doing their business, so their time isn't as flexible. But yeah, they've been out a couple of times, and it's nice to get them out in the sunshine. And the hard part is, Italy had a time frame, right? Arizona doesn't have a time frame, so it's not an urgent matter for people to make plans to come out here, but they do, and we have fun, and we, I cook them food, which I love to do, and we go on hikes, and they get to have the sunshine when it's, dismal in Michigan during the
Yes.
winter.
Well, I don't wanna take up too much more of your time, but I do have one more thing I wanted to touch
Yeah.
on, and that's I mentioned entrepreneurship. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
let you talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So my dad started his business when I was a year old. So I've always had kind of that kind of bone in my body, but I've always worked for other companies. But I did some of those essential oil businesses. I did that. I've done a few things that on my own. Entrepreneurship is something that it's something to grow into, right? But it's fun. I think the desire for it has kind of jumped to Josephine. And she's started all kinds of little businesses and selling stuff. So it's fun to help her kind of navigate that. It was funny. She started her most successful business so far. She's done a few, but she loves to bake. And before Christmas break at school, she goes, "Hey, to one of her friends, if I bake you cookies, will you buy them for me?" So that kind of started this whole thing. Some weeks she's baking 3 dozen cookies. Some weeks she's baking 15 dozen cookies and selling them to kids at school. I'm like, is this okay? Like, is your school going to be okay with this? And she comes home and she's got wads of cash. She's like, oh, this person paid me this person paid me this. And I got 3 more dozen I got to make. And I was like, okay. So, and the waste management was out here. And so she made 15 dozen cookies, and we stood at the lot where the guys were getting off the
Oh, for the
buses.
you're talking about the
Yeah,
golf
yeah,
thing.
for the
Yeah.
golf
Oh
hunt.
my
We
gosh,
stood at
yeah.
the lot where people were coming back to get an Uber or a Lyft, right? So you know that they weren't able to drive. That little stinker sold out of 250 cookies or how many ever she made in an hour.
Oh my gosh, so
Yeah.
smart.
So the entrepreneurship, you
Yeah.
gotta have that little bit of oomph in your body, right? You gotta have that
Yes.
creative juice, but you've got to have the follow through. So I've dabbled in different businesses and kind of always had that, but I've not had the follow through, right? Because I gotta make money to survive.
Mhm.
But hopefully that will be Josephine's path to come up with some sort of business and um, take it generationally
Yes.
from Papa.
Well, I think that that kind of brings us full circle because you're teaching them, your children, to try things and
Yeah.
to go through the uncomfortable, which I wrote
Yep.
all of that down too. I love that. No growth in the
Yes.
comfort zone and no comfort in the growth. I love
Yep.
that.
100%. I need to
Yes.
make it into a T-shirt
I
and
know.
wear
I
it.
just thought that. I was like, that would be great. Well, yeah, like I said, there's no script. We just kind of get
Yeah.
on and allow people to talk. And you've had so many moments in your life that you actually had pivotal moments that caused you to pivot. So some
Right.
very, very
100%.
significant moments. I loved that. So
Yeah.
yeah, we just kind of go and I really enjoyed speaking with you. But before I let you get back to all of your busyness, Is there something you would like our listeners to hear? I mean, you've given us all kinds of great perspective, but I'll give you one more chance if there's something else you'd like to
Oh,
share.
it's let life take you where it's supposed to go. There'll be moments, I mean, there's gonna be good times and hard times, happy times and sad times. But if you can laugh and cry and lean on your faith through it all, it won't be that bad.
That is great advice. I knew you'd give us some good nuggets. So,
Oh, goodness.
oh, yes, it is so good. And I just keep thinking about my niece because I spoke to her yesterday. I'm going to be like, you have to listen to this one because she did some traveling when she was younger. And now she's like, I don't know if I would go back there. And I'm like, you're
Oh,
only 25. Keep
yeah.
going.
Yes, keep
So,
going. Keep
yeah.
going.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that really delightful story and all this
Yeah.
conversation. It was so fun to catch up and to have
Yes.
you as a guest.
Thank you
And I
for
can't
having
wait to
me.
drop this. Of course, of course. There's going to be now see hopefully we have a whole new market in Arizona after we drop this one. So, all right. Well, thank you so much and let's keep in touch. And you know what actually
Absolutely.
my niece said yesterday, she's like, you should do follow-up episodes. So maybe we'll have to do that.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. A couple
Yeah,
years from now, who knows
see where
where the
you're at,
police
right.
plan will be.
Right. Well, thank you and all the best to you guys and enjoy the nice weather while I'll look out at the gray here.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
All
And
right.
keep up what you're doing. You're doing it. I'm glad you're putting your passion to purpose.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. Thank you for joining us for the Show Me the Way podcast. We truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. We hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who could use a little motivation. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.